The Sea Foxes are always up to something. Their machinations over the centuries have intensified to the point that they have become seemingly omnipresent at the dawn of the IlClan era. Sea Foxes, previously Clan Diamond Shark, have enjoyed their status as the quirky oddball clan, more interested in winning profit with favorable contracts and resource distribution rights instead of battlefield victories. Perhaps they had the right idea as the clan outlasted many others and survived the Wars of Reaving by escaping fully to the Inner Sphere. They had endured the Word of Blake kerfuffle, and after reverting back to their original name in 3100, Clan Sea Fox found themselves in an excellent position to expand their influence across the Inner Sphere. As Alaric and Malvina carved out increasingly large portions of house territory for their empires, the Sea Foxes expanded their influence across the stars. Sometimes that took the form of logistics agreements or direct sales of equipment or technology. In other cases, the Sea Foxes were thinking long-term with agreements to take over functional and non-functional HPG sites and long-idle industrial campuses. They were playing the long game, and even if the other players identified that was the case, short-term needs often made deals necessary. Today, we're going to look at a breakout star of one of these agreements, and I hope you'll stick around because the Regent is a mech you're going to want to know. How would you feel if I did not think this was a grand campaign? How would you feel if I believed the grandest campaign ever imagined by Nicholas Kerensky was the one that we, Clan Sea Fox, are already undertaking? Not conquering a world, but conquering the minds, hearts, and stomachs everywhere we go, often without firing a shot. Riptides by Randall N. Bills. By the 3140s, you couldn't throw a rock in the Inner Sphere without hitting a Sea Fox. Between the various Khanates roaming around doing their own things and Alaric's march on Terra, there were plenty of irons in the fires. The Sea Fox Tumen had been broken down into 5 groups, which were basically the clan's galaxies that worked from fleets of cargo, military, and arc jump ships that could operate largely independently from each other. They often worked in their own regions across the Inner Sphere and had different priorities based upon the Khanate's commanding officer. One might ask why the Sea Foxes can operate largely unbothered, and the answer is similar to why Comstar sites were largely left alone during the Succession Wars. The Sea Foxes are willing to trade with almost anyone. Therefore, if you do something to anger them, they're going to stop selling fancy clan gear to you and keep selling it to your enemies. Sometimes that entailed losing access to functioning HPG sites. Sometimes it was the lack of access to physical goods like ammo and replacement parts which could make or break a military operation. The IlKhan was led by the Sea Fox Khan Mori Hawker in the mid-3140s. Its flagship was a Potemkin-class carrier named the Tsunami, which had been modified for the clan's industrial and commercial purposes. While in orbit over Tukiad, it likely served as a communication and control hub for clan operations. While the arc ships of the other Khanates moved often to take advantage of trade opportunities, the leadership role under the Khan weighed down the IlKhan's efforts. Heavy weighs the crown. The IlKhan was led by the Sea Fox Khan Mori Hawker in the mid-3140s. Its arc ship was a Potemkin-class carrier named the Tsunami, which had been modified for the clan's industrial and commercial purposes. While in orbit over Tukiad, it likely served as a communication and control hub for clan operations. While the arc ships of the other Khanates moved often to take advantage of trade opportunities, the leadership role under the Khan weighed down the IlKhan's efforts. Heavy weighs the crown. One of the IlKhan's projects that did move forward was a legally and logistically intricate effort to wrangle the industrial might of Coventry Metalworks and Technocron Manufacturing in what has been described as Project Reynard. As two of the most influential and famous BattleMech manufacturers, Coventry Metalworks and Technocron Manufacturing hardly need an introduction. However, we're not going to be able to get our heads around the Regent without discussing a much older design, which may not be as well known. Due to its presence in the 3060 technical readout, the 95-ton Hauptmann arrived on the timeline a bit after many other mech warriors stepped away from the action. The Hauptmann was the first Omni-Mech produced for the Lyran Alliance, and unlike some of the other Inner Sphere designs of the era, this one could pack a significant punch. We're going to look at the Hauptmann today because it is in many ways the inspiration for the Regent. Forged from a standard chassis wrapped around a 285 standard fusion engine, the Hauptmann saved both on cost and kept potentially vulnerable critical hit locations open for pod space. This limited the movement of the mech to a top speed of just 54 km per hour, but this is a 95-ton battle mech, so it's not atypical. The 18.5 tons of standard plate armor maxed out the scale for a 95-ton mech, with 3 points lost for the effort. With 11 double heat sinks and a superfluous gyro and cockpit assembly added, that left a whopping 43 tons, or roughly 45% of the mech's overall mass, which could be devoted to pod space. Without endosteel, the XL engine, or fancy armor, 46 critical locations were open for your mech Tetris ideas. The Hauptmann's primary and initial alt configurations tended to focus on a large autocannon or Gauss rifle set into the right torso, which was backed up by a variety of lasers and short-range missile systems. While all of that is well and good, the most memorable detail from the design was the animalistic configuration of the structure and armor, which presented a machine that appeared to be smoking a cigar. The influence of the clan Omni-Mech direwolf was evident in the limb structure as well, in a crafty little copy my homework but change the name at the top moment for the Hauptmann's design team. It's definitely one of the more memorable battle mechs from the TRO 3060. Get out of here, Jingao, you're drunk. Leaping ahead on the timeline by 85 years, and we rejoin our friends at Coventry who are approached by the Sea Foxes with a valuable opportunity to take a new look at the now largely obsolete and rare Hauptmann. There had been previous proposals for an update with clan double heatsink technology, but with domestic production already stretched, it was a non-starter. A Sea Fox named Bilius had picked up on the issue through undisclosed means, and saw an opportunity to facilitate a profitable connection with Technocron Manufacturing, which is based in the Free Worlds League. The proposal was for each company to share in the production of a brand new Omni-Mech that used the Hauptmann as inspiration. The two companies could produce the base frame and ship it to the IlKhan, which would outfit the mechs with clan-spec weaponry before sale to anyone who could afford them. It was a bold plan, only made possible due to the gravitas of the IlKhan and the dependable reputation of both Inner Sphere companies. The Regent shared a modest physical appearance to its inspiration, though under the hood it was a new beast. The biggest change was the drop in tonnage from 95 to just 90 tons. Thanks to the incorporation of clan tech, the reduction was deemed a savings which could produce very nearly the same outcome. The GM270 standard fusion engine was readily available and could match the movement profile of the Hauptmann's 54 km per hour. The team decided to keep the mech as flexible as possible with only the 10 engine double heatsinks as stock, of course leaving open the option to add more clan spec double heatsinks if necessary for various configurations. The Duralex branded standard armor did have to take a hit down to just 17.5 tons, which was the max possible for a 90-ton mech. For reference, the Regent's 279 points of armor places it just slightly more durable than the latest Highlander on the timeline, which carried 16 tons of light ferrofibrous. The Regent was built to endure. Once the Mega Band System 21 communications gear and D-Track Suite 4 targeting and tracking system was wedged in and checked by Jerry in Spectre 82, that left 43 tons of pod space with which to play. Not too shabby. The Prime configuration that graced all the digital brochures sent out to procurement officers across the Inner Sphere included a collection of clan-spec weaponry that would make even the most fussy of curmudgeons at least consider the possibilities. Starting at long range and moving in, a trio of ER-large lasers split between the side torsos and right arm were enough to allow the Regent Prime to harass successfully at distance. However, if it did have the opportunity to close in on a target, it could bring its massive LB-20X autocannon in the right torso to bear. Unfortunately, its threat was limited to just 10 shots and 2 tons of Case 2 protected ammunition in the left torso. Matching the autocannon's range profile, 2 medium pulse lasers were split between the arms and provided their accurate, warm, and toasty fire. A Streak SRM-4 along with 1 ton of ammunition was nestled into the left torso, and finally an emotional support micro-pulse laser was installed into the open-head critical location. The energy weapons demanded additional heat sinks, and this is where the Sea Foxes understood the assignment. The Prime configuration carried 19 double heat sinks, which allowed the firing of all 3 ER large lasers and the 2 medium pulse lasers while on the run and only ending up at 2 into the red. Leaving off one of the medium pulse lasers in the next volley would get the Regent back to 0. Things get a little trickier once you've tossed in the LB-20X and Streak SRM-4, but most of the time laying off 1 or more of the ER large lasers more than covered the spread. While it might be tempting to state this was the Regent in its ideal form, we're just getting started. In the seconds before the fight began, Curtain's mind flashed again with how he expected the minute or so after the tone to go. He had never piloted this Archer before, though he'd spent weeks in the simulator during the transit. Fighting this duel in his Regent would have been little more than muscle memory. He would have advanced his throttle and beaten Sukata to the ground with the smashing maces of his ERPPCs. Curtain preferred his assault mech. It was simpler. Move toward the enemy, destroy the enemy. No noise, no confusion. This duel would require different tactics. Not unfamiliar tactics, just different. A Lesson Learned, Shrapnel Number 15, by Jason Schmetzer. A Regent Mechwarrior worth knowing is one Sergeant Curtain of the new Grey Death Legion. Curtain was born on Crimond, which is a planet traditionally held by the Lyrans, but had been under the control first by Clan Wolf in 3130 and then the Jade Falcons in 3140. Growing up within the clan system, with his mother likely an elemental who had been washed out to a lower caste, Curtain felt compelled to maximize his potential and become a warrior. Though he did achieve warrior status, he understood that his future was limited due to his free birth status. During his first meeting on Crimond, Curtain outlined the issue with Belle Carlisle. When I was young, my mother told me I could be anything so long as I earned it. So I became a warrior. Yes, a freeborn one, but that doesn't matter as much as it used to, and found it was not enough. Not enough, Belle repeated, to be in the 1% of a clan? But still at the very bottom of that 1%, Curtain corrected her. When the planet was largely abandoned by the Jade Falcons in Malvina's mad rush toward Terra, Curtain and many others enjoyed the freedom of not being under anyone's boot. Those days ended with the arrival of the new Grey Death Legion dropships carrying the news that Crimond had been claimed by the Tamar Pact. It was disturbing news for some and met with indifference by others. Curtain and his group of militia called themselves the Condors, and through some machinations of a third party of Lyran loyalists, ended up fighting alongside Belle Carlisle and the other legionnaires. Though Curtain did not fight within his Regent during this specific event, he would join in with the mercenaries and bring it with him for future shenanigans. I'd expect to hear more from Curtain along with the rest of the new Grey Death Legion as we move further into the IlClan era. Check out Grey Death Rising for both Mercenary's Honor and Decision at Pandora for more on Curtain and of course the rest of the Legion. Belle shrugged. He wanted to join. He's a good mech warrior and he comes with a Regent. You just met him. Oh, don't give me that, Belle said. We hired all those 2-9 boys and girls sight unseen. That was different. How was it different? Those were trained Lyran soldiers. He's a clanner, Ronan. He could probably blow you out of your gargoyle. In a simulator, of course, Curtain added. Both Carlisles turned to stare at him, but only Belle was grinning. Ronan, frowning, stared at Curtain for a moment, then looked back at his sister. Any other surprises? Mercenary's Honor, Grey Death Rising, by Jason Schmetzer. As solid as the Prime configuration for the Regent was, we should probably cover the other official options just to be completionists. We're all dressed up for the party, so we might as well go. The A configuration channeled its inner awesome with the installation of a trio of ERPPCs set into the side torsos and right arm. Remember, these weapons are all clan spec from the Sea Foxes, so that's 15 damage apiece. They were further bolstered with the use of 3 PPC capacitors, which could boost that damage to 20 if the capacitors are charged and raring to go, like a toddler dropped off after being sugared up at Nana's house. The only other weapon on the A config was an ER medium laser installed into the open head critical location. All 4 energy weapons were aided by a right torso targeting computer. Of course, all those PPCs did generate a little bit of heat, so the config also carries 26 heat sinks and a coolant pod, filling almost every nook and cranny of the remaining pod space. The bad news for anyone who might go up against the Regent A is that it can alpha strike while on the run and remain heat neutral. Of course, if you're wise enough to be carrying Inferno missiles or a plasma weapon, you could throw a wrench into the works. Food for thought. Now, if the capacitors get involved, heat can be a significant issue, but this build screams go for it when the time is right. Plus, you have that coolant pod if things get really spicy. Reports note that apparently, quote-unquote, many mech warriors refer to the Regent as the Awesome Man in a reference to the Awesome's iconic 3 PPC builds, but this commentator wonders if that is genuine or just corporate astroturfing. The B configuration for the Regent seems to be an attempt to stand between the Prime and the A with a compromise build. The 2 ERPPCs split between the left torso and center torso provided the long-range fire, backed up in the mid-range by a pair of ER medium lasers set into the right torso and head open critical. At 12 hexes and closer, the Regent's Ultra AC-20 autocannon could shake the fillings out of your teeth should you be standing anywhere near it when fired. The massive autocannon fed from 3 tons of case-protected ammunition in the right torso. Finally, for any short-range squabbles that might need a light show solution, 4 ER micro lasers were split between the arms. The heat generated by the cacophony of fire could be handled by the 23 double heat sinks. While not heat neutral in an alpha strike, the B config could fire both ERPPCs and double fire that UAC-20 while on the run and not face any serious heat issues. While the B configuration may not grab the headlines like the Prime and the A, it's still a solid and very balanced build that is a danger at all ranges. If we were calling them, I'd say we're 3 for 3 so far. Curtain's Regent stalked forward and hit the Onager again, and the Pandoran assault mech had been trying to get back to its feet, but the PPCs cut its legs out from under it. Curtain kept advancing, closing to the extreme range of his autocannon, and then unleashed the 200mm Ultra at its full rate of fire, chewing up the Onager's side and legs. If the mech could have, it would have curled into a fetal ball, trying to protect its head. When Marianne Kojima stalked her bushwhacker close enough to cough a cloud of LBX projectiles, the Onager shut down, its hip and shoulder actuators shredded. Decision at Pandora, Grey Death Rising, by Jason Schmetzer. If at this point you were thinking, golly, I'd really like to see the Regent running around with a giant shotgun, I have some good news. The Regent Configuration C leans way into the look with the installation of a Hyper Assault Gauss Rifle 40 in the left torso. It could feed from 4 tons of ammunition, stored 2 in the case-protected left torso, 1 in the center torso, and 1 in the left leg. That's 12 total shots if you want to make those count. The HAG-40 was paired up with an improved heavy Gauss rifle in the right torso, which could do its 22 damage per shot out to 19 hexes. The last of the configuration's available mass was dedicated to 3 tons of ammunition for the Gauss rifle, which is also 12 total shots. While definitely a powerful build in the right circumstances, the C config represents a more niche use case. The limited ammunition suggests that this Regent would do best to operate near logistics lines and in short bursts. Its value in dueling is obvious, as the improved heavy Gauss could crack open even the toughest of opponents in short order, while that HAG-40 could wear down even heavy targets quickly and seek out critical hits once the armor is cracked. The C config is heat neutral in all cases, but not for the foolhardy, as every single shot counts. The Mechwarrior could do well to wait for the exact right moment before charging in. The last of the official configurations was the D, and it's a unique beast. At a glance, the majority of its weaponry appears tailored for long-range skirmishing or a fire support role. The twin Ultra AC-2s and matched LB-2X autocannons split between the side torsos offered their very modest damage out to a very long range. Their 1 ton of ammunition per cannon was stored next to the weapons in Case 2, also in the torsos. Those harassing and pestering weapons were backed up by a pair of long-range Missile 15 racks, also in the side torsos along with their 4 tons of ammunition. At short range, 4 medium-improved heavy lasers were split 2 in each arm, and finally an emotional support small pulse laser was installed into the head open critical. With 12 double heat sinks, the D configuration didn't suffer from heat issues until those medium-improved heavy lasers came into play. Their addition to the mix could quickly drive up the heat over acceptable thresholds, but for the most part they look like a sometimes weapon anyway. Overall, the D configuration is probably the weakest of the bunch, but we're dealing with a bar that's set pretty high. Beyond the standard defense of the AC-2s as anti-air builds, the D struggles to justify its existence against much stronger builds. If you've had luck with it, please let me know. Production of the Regent on Coventry and Savannah progressed swiftly, and the sales of the mech have been impressive. The entire venture has been a boon for the IlKhanate, though word has it that the other Seafox Khanates did not appreciate the new competition for market share. At this point, Seafox merchants have been willing to sell the Regent to anyone with the cash to buy one. This has caused some drama with other Inner Sphere clans that have never liked it when clan tech disseminated into non-clan hands. Of course, the Seafoxes could always counter that the horse has already left the barn, as multiple Inner Sphere manufacturers are already producing clan spec tech without any clan's input. Welcome to the IlClan era, folks. Faction availability includes all the great houses, mercenary units, and even Clan Hell's horses and the Clan Protectorate. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Wolf Empire and Star League added to the list soon as Alaric seeks to rearm on Terra with supplies provided by the Seafoxes. At appropriately lucrative prices, of course. As Clan Seafox maneuvers itself into being an economic and industrial powerhouse, the Regent is likely just the beginning for a new set of battlemechs and other technology reaching the hands of militaries across the Inner Sphere. It is for you to decide whether you will accept the cost, which would be control of the Wolf Empire hyperpulse generators, both functioning and non-functional. Othar did not allow himself to speak. HPGs were strategic assets when they worked. They offered near real-time interstellar communications. For centuries in the Inner Sphere, they had been administered neutrally by the quasi-religious order called Comstar. Since Comstar's destruction during the Blackout, each state had taken over operation, and while barely 2 in 10 still functioned, they were still nearly priceless. That's quite a cost, Khan Kalasa, Othar finally said. It's quite an offer, Kalasa said. His fine merchant's instincts must have kicked in because he stood, ending the conversation. Redemption Rights by Jason Schmetzer. There have already been reports of regents performing well in real-world battlefields. In 3148 on Rohinjan, units from the Magistracy of Canopus clashed with a third Merrick Protectors. The Merrick unit had fallen back to the planet in hope of using it for repair and recovering from a fight against the Endurians. Unfortunately, they weren't informed that Rohinjan had recently joined the Magistracy of Canopus, and they didn't particularly want the Free Worlds League sticking their noses where they didn't belong. The Magistracy unit, known as the Magistracy Cavaliers, sought to push the Third Merrick Protectors off the planet by force. Force Commander Cassius Labelle stepped forward to personally hold back the Canopians in his Regent until his unit fell back onto their dropships. Word has it that he was able to destroy 9 lighter battlemechs before he stepped back onto the last ship out. On the other side of the Inner Sphere, the never-boring Duke Vedette Brewer obtained a pair of Regents and put them to work against hostile pirates in periphery space. Battle reports showed success against the traditionally weaker and older tech pirate battlemechs, including in the ancient Atlas. Another Regent owner of note is His Holiness Pope Leo XXI, the most recent pontiff of the New Avalon Catholic Church. After the unfortunate demise of the previous pope along with all of the College of Cardinals at the hands of the DCMS in the invasion of New Avalon, Pope Leo was elected and has taken a much more active role in defending the faith from his cockpit of the new Regent. I really want to know which configuration Pope Leo runs. It's said that the Pontiff's mech is painted with a luminescent gold and has been spotted among the Knights Defensor in their efforts to liberate settlements from DCMS hands. We need this story in novel form. Come on, let's get this done. Now before we mosey on toward the horizon today, I did want to take a crack at creating my own totally unofficial and non-canon Regent configuration. Fans of the channel are going to be entirely unsurprised that I found enough room for a plasma rifle in the left arm, because why have nice toys if we're not going to use them, right? The rest of the weapons loadout isn't important, so let's just move on. Oh, what's up? Oh, okay, alright. Backing up the plasma rifle, 3 advanced tactical missile 6 launchers along with 5 tons of pod space dedicated to their ammunition provide plenty of opportunity for flexible builds without having to fuss with replacing weapon pods. The last of the weapons additions were 5 ER medium lasers, split 2 in each arm and 1 in the open head critical. They make closing on the Regent MF config a dangerous proposition. The 18 double heat sinks provide plentiful cooling, but heat management would still be necessary should you want to fire those ER medium lasers along with the plasma rifle and missiles. While not as openly powerful as the official configurations, the MF offers some elements that they lack. Perhaps I just like putting jump jets on assault mechs. Oh, did I not mention that we did that? Yeah, the 353 movement profile is pretty nice too. If you wish to give the Regent MF a try, I've included a free Dropbox link to the PDF record sheet along with the Alpha Strike card. Have a ball and let me know how it works out. Men go abroad to wander at the heights of mountains, at the huge waves of the sea, at the long courses of the rivers, at the vast compass of the ocean, at the circular motions of the stars, and they pass by themselves without wandering. St. Augustine, Confessions, Book 10, Chapter 8. So why do we love the Regent? Perhaps I should say, why should we get to know the Regent a little better? It's a no-fuss, no fancy bits clan mech that's nice on the eyes and is very flexible. Considering that it is the cover mech on 3 new Catalyst Game Lab BattleTech projects, 2 of which are coming out this fall, suggests that we are going to be seeing it more in the future as a representative mech of the IlClan era. Widely available for all factions to use, the Regent is in a good position to become a common sight in fiction and on the tabletop as people pick up this new core box. The Sea Foxes are pretty clearly going to be wearing multiple hats and playing a more important role in the narrative as we move forward. Their shenanigans may not be as immediately wacky as those under Comstar or the Word of Blake, but perhaps it's a new flavor of nonsense that we can all appreciate in time. We'll see. Maybe if we're lucky, we can get a novel about the Battle Pope. That would be 10 types of fun in a 5-type bag. I'm curious what you think about the Regent. Do you think it deserves a shot as a new face of BattleTech in the IlClan era? If not, what mech do you think would be a better pick? Let me know in the comments and we can keep the discussion going. Do you have a favorite Regent configuration? Have you run the mech at all? I'd love to know how it performed. Thanks as always for coming out today. If you think the video deserves it and you want to show your support, the easiest way to do that is to hit the like button, subscribe, and even leave a comment. All of these things make the YouTube algorithm happy and it doesn't cost you anything. Though YouTube channel memberships are still a thing, it's nice not to have to rely entirely on Google's good graces moving forward. No matter what, it's appreciated. Without strong community support, this wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to join the nonsense and even share off your own painted battle mechs, join our Discord server where people get their heads up on what's coming up next and have a chance to chat about all things BattleTech. The link for that is in the video notes below. With that, I'll say thanks again, have an awesome week, and please go out and make the world a slightly better place today and tomorrow.